What's going on, Tasty Vibe Tribe? Today, we're just gonna get right into it with fall favorites from Starbucks, Krispy Kreme, and Dunkin' Donuts. Let's crush some calories.
Fast food, face up! Fast food, face up!
I'm gonna get started from Starbucks and work my way over. Both of these are the Pumpkin Cold Brew Cream from Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks, and then Krispy Kreme has a pumpkin spice ice cap latte. I'm gonna start off with the scone, and then I'll probably work up to the coffee. Let's see how it tastes. Get your flannel and your Ugg boots ready to see whether or not a little bit of pumpkin spice makes everything nice. I remember liking the scone from last year, and it still doesn't disappoint. Really nice consistency, good icing on top, a nice strong cinnamon nutmeg flavor in the actual pastry itself. You really can't go wrong with this one. Obviously, your mileage may vary on a lot of this stuff, but go into it knowing that Starbucks scone is a bit softer and a bit sweeter than what you're used to from your average bakery. Next, we're just gonna roll right along. I'm gonna get into the cream cheese pumpkin muffin. So we had this voted on for Instagram, and a lot of people thought that this would be a good video. For everyone that voted, if your choice didn't win, I'm gonna see what I can do about getting to them over the next couple weeks through the fall season. I'll let you guys get a look. See how it tastes. The cream cheese flavor on this is really nice. Well-made muffin. You got kind of the crispier edges around on the top. You got the soft bake throughout the bottom. They add a little bit of texture with pumpkin seeds and pepitas. Very nice. There's good moisture throughout this muffin too. Sometimes when you get muffins, they get overbaked and they get dry throughout the center. There's a good moisture added from the pumpkin itself. And what's nice about Starbucks is that you can get a lot of their pastry items, particularly their fall offerings, toasted when you get them. So it always tastes just a little bit better, almost like it's homemade. Last from the fall menu pastry offerings is the pumpkin loaf. I remember really liking this last year. Hopefully, it's as good as I remember it being. That's very good as well. You get the rich, moist, almost cake-like quality of the loaf itself. Starbucks adds the pumpkin seeds, the pepitas to give it a little bit of a texture and balance. I do wish that there was maybe some sort of like a cream cheese drizzle on this. Maybe even caramel might complement this nicely because of the warmer flavors of like the cinnamon and the nutmeg and the other fall spices that are in here. But I'm not mad at it just being the way that it is. So this is the Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew from Starbucks. I've yet to actually have this. It looks delicious. Hopefully it's as good as the other newer offerings that I've had from Starbucks, like the Apple Crisp Macchiato. This is actually really pleasant. It's, I think, a nice balance of coffee with those fall flavors. I think sometimes when you get something like a pumpkin spice latte, it's a little too sweet for most people, and it's a little too cinnamon forward or nutmeg forward for most people, especially people that like their coffee to be a bit on the stronger side. If you wanted to get a stronger cup of coffee and still be in the fall spirit, this is a nice balance of the two. So we have the traditional pumpkin glaze, there's a pumpkin cheesecake filled donut, and then there's a pumpkin cake donut. I'm gonna get started with the traditional glaze. While this is very tasty and definitely indicative of all the other kind of good glazed Krispy Kreme donuts, if you were to close your eyes, you might have a hard time telling that this is some sort of a pumpkin-inspired donut. There's definitely some warm flavor aspects to it, but there's definitely not enough pumpkin for me to really like this as a pumpkin offering. I'm gonna move on to the filled ring donut, which is a pumpkin cheesecake donut. This is a very tasty donut. I like the light cream filling inside of the ring. The ratio between the filling and then the actual donut is, I think, better sometimes with the filled rings than it is with the filled shell donuts. And then the overall balance of sweetness with a little bit of the tang from the filling is also pleasant. Again, I just really wish that there was a bit more of that pumpkin flavor that I'm looking.
That's strike two, Krispy Kreme.
And last from Krispy Kreme for their pastry offerings is the traditional cake donut, which is also pumpkin as well. I'm not traditionally a cake donut guy. I prefer yeast donuts, but cake donuts, they tend to just hold on to those warm fall spices that we know and love better than yeast ring donuts do. And this is no exception. The glaze is very nice on this. The consistency of the cake is traditional of a cake donut from Krispy Kreme. And I do think that you get just the right amount of sweet and some of those fall spices to make this a pretty enjoyable donut. I definitely like this more than the other two offerings.
That's more like it.
Now, for Krispy Kreme's coffee offering. I rarely ever have anything from Krispy Kreme that isn't their donuts. Even though I've had this one before, I don't distinctly remember what it tastes like. So let's see how it tastes for the second time. The coffee itself is not as strong as I would like it to be. When you get a cup of coffee like Starbucks or even Dunkin', you definitely taste the richness of the coffee. Not that this is a bad cup. I would just say that if you're in the mood for a strong brewed cup of coffee, this may not be your go-to. There is a good blend of the spices on this, so kudos to Krispy Kreme for going a little bit more heavy-handed in the fall spice department, because this is not what I thought it was going to be. It's a light cup of coffee that definitely packs a cinnamon punch. Everybody knows America runs on Dunkin'. Dunkin' Donuts fall menu offerings. So we have their pumpkin cake donut, we have their pumpkin muffin, and then I also decided to get the pumpkin munchkins just to see if there's any kind of textural variance between that and then their cake donut. I think I'm gonna start with the munchkins first. If I'm being honest, it's definitely on the dry side of things, and it's mildly sweet at best. It's not my cup of tea, but I would not discourage someone from trying it. Your mileage is gonna vary on this.
The fact that these were dry and then I had to eat 6 of them definitely didn't help its case.
Next, I'm gonna try the pumpkin cake donut. Now this is really good. I genuinely enjoy the consistency. It's a lot less dry than the munchkins are, even though I would imagine that they're probably made from a very similar batter. The outside is a little bit more sweet because I think that there's a bit more surface area for that glaze to kind of stick to. And then the amount of the cake that you're getting allows for a little bit more of the fall spices to kind of get onto your palate. So this is a really strong offering from Dunkin', and I'm pleasantly surprised by how much I like this.
Dunkin' has a better pumpkin spice offering than Krispy Kreme? Say it isn't so.
Last up for Dunkin' is their pumpkin muffin. The consistency of the muffin is pretty moist on the inside. You have a nice kind of streusel crumb on top. They put a little bit of that glaze over it to just give it some texture and a little extra sweetness. And then the actual fall spices themselves are definitely prevalent enough that you know that you're having something that's pumpkin inspired. This is definitely a bit more on the crumblier side as opposed to Starbucks muffin. It was just held together a little bit better. And finally, we get to Dunkin's Cold Brew Pumpkin Coffee. So this is also a new offering from Dunkin'. I've yet to have this one. I've heard good things. Let's see how it stacks up against Starbucks. That's very tasty. You're definitely going to get a stronger brewed cup of coffee from Starbucks. I would say Dunkin' is a bit more on the sweeter side, but it does still have a strong brewed cup of coffee. This is a very good cup of coffee though.
Now that I'm completely over caffeinated, which one of these companies is Pumpkin Yas Queen for 2021?
Okay, so we're gonna have the cost and calories here for you guys because I do know that you appreciate it and it always factors into these decisions, right? It's not just the value that you're getting for something, but sometimes it's also the nutrition behind it. That aside, I would say the top pastry item for me, if I had to rank it for you guys, would probably be the muffin from Starbucks. And if I were to have to say my favorite cup of coffee that I think I would readily go back to, I think I'm gonna probably go with Starbucks for their pumpkin cold brew as well. But I would say a close third is definitely the pumpkin cold brew from Dunkin's. It's a little sweet for me, but still a very nice cup of coffee. And if I were to have to say what my least favorite items were, I would honestly say Krispy Kreme as a whole. They kind of disappointed me on this one. I had really high hopes for this, and it just doesn't live up to my expectations. And stacked next to their opponents, it just doesn't really have enough punch of flavor as far as pumpkin or pumpkin spice or any kind of fall spice to be able to stand up next to Dunkin' and Starbucks. We appreciate you guys. We thank you for watching. We thank you for voting on Instagram. If you haven't given us a follow on Instagram, go over there so that you can kind of vote on some of these polls and mini reviews that we have. Also, if you enjoyed the content, smash that like button. Please make sure to share this video around so that other people can join the Tasty Vibe tribe. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn those notifications on so that you can stay up to date with everything that we have going on in the next couple weeks when it comes to fall menus. And remember, if you are what you eat, always eat amazing. Catch you guys on the next one.